There is an idea that many find hard to accept. Not all people deserve your help, yes. It sounds harsh, it sounds cruel even. But it is a Stoic truth that if you ignore it, you will pay a high price. Because in this world, there are people who only want to take advantage of others, who use the kindness of others as a tool to get what they want without giving anything in return. People who drain your energy, that undermines your peace, that leaves you empty without any remorse. And if you are not able to put a stop to them, to close the door on them, to deny them your help when necessary, they will drag you down with them. The Stoics understood this perfectly. Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, all of them knew that life is limited, that energy is finite, and that wasting it on the wrong people is a fatal mistake. That is why their philosophy emphasized the importance of wisdom when it comes to who we invest our time in. Our help and our resources is not about being selfish, it is about being strategic. It is not about denying help to the needy, but about identifying those who are not looking for help, but a servant. Now before you start, I want you to do a little mental exercise. Think about the times you have helped someone and you have felt used. Think about the times you have been for someone when they needed you, but when you required support, that person disappeared. Think about those relationships where you give and give, but you never receive anything in return. That is exactly what we want to avoid with this video. Throughout this tour, I am going to talk about 10 types of people to whom you should deny your help without feeling any guilt. We are going to analyze each type in depth. I will explain how to identify them, why they represent a danger to your well-being, and what the Stoics would do in your place. In addition, in each one, I will share with you a phrase from a philosopher that will help you internalize lesson 1. The professional victimizer. There is a type of person who no matter what happens is always in trouble, but be careful. Not just any type of problems, not real problems that they need. These people live in a constant state of tragedy where the world is unfair to them, where everything goes wrong for them, where everyone is against them, and the worst of all is that they do not look for solutions. They are just looking for ears willing to listen to their laments and hands willing to solve their problems for them. If you do not learn to spot this professional victimizer in time, you will become a victim as well. In his personal lifeline, without you noticing how to identify them, the professional victimizer has a very predictable pattern of behavior. He always has a sad story to tell. If you ask him how he is, get ready because he is going to give you a long speech about how badly life treats him. He is never okay. He never has a normal day. He always has something dramatic to say. The problems he faces are almost always the same, but the funny thing is that he never does anything to solve them. If you ask him what he has done to change his situation, he justifies himself. He pretends to be offended, or he says that he can't do anything. The people in his life are always to blame. If he has problems at work, it's because the boss is unhappy. If he has problems with his partner, it's because his partner doesn't understand. If he has financial problems, it's because the system is against him. But it's never his fault. He never takes responsibility for anything. Always he seeks help, but never changes. Today he needs money, tomorrow he needs a favor, the day after tomorrow he needs you to listen to him because someone treated him badly. But it doesn't matter how many times you help him because he's always going to need more. Why should you deny him your help? Because the victimizer doesn't seek help, he looks for a savior. He wants someone to solve his life without have to make the effort to improve, and the more you help him, the more he will get used to depending on you. The Stoics were very clear that suffering is part of life. But what defines a person is how they deal with that suffering. If someone sinks into complaining and self-pity, that person is choosing their own destiny, and you cannot allow their lack of action to become in your burden. As Epictetus said, it is not what happens to you, but what matters. This is the problem with the victim. His reaction to adversity is to complain and look for someone to rescue him. He does not want to change his mentality. He does not want to learn. He does not want to grow. And if you continue to give him help, the only thing he will do is reinforce his idea that he does not have to do anything by himself. The only way you might really be helping him is by turning away your assistance. Indeed, even if it seems paradoxical, he will not change until he suffers the results of his own attitude. The finest support you can provide him is denial of your assistance. If you find someone always a victim of everything, should you find him lacking in assumption of responsibility? Every time he speaks, you find that he is complaining or asking you for something. Set limits, because the time you waste with a victimizer could be reversing an important warning. Wait until you see the last type of person, because the number 10 is not only the most toxic of all, but also the most dangerous. So stay until the end of the video, because what is coming can change the way you see relationships forever. Now, yes, let's continue to the emotional parasite. If you have ever felt that a person drains your energy just by talking to them, that after a conversation with them you feel tired, yes, in mood and emotionally exhausted, you may have been in the presence of an emotional parasite. This type of person not only absorbs your time, absorbs your peace of mind, your stability, and even your ability to focus on your own life. His method is subtle at first, but if you don't realize it, he is a great way to. In the meantime, you can end up completely trapped in their game, where he or she feeds on your emotional energy and you end up empty, confused, and frustrated. How to identify them. Emotional parasites have certain behaviors that give them away, but the problem is that they can disguise themselves very well at first. Here are some warning signs. 1. Always need something from you, but they never give anything in return. No matter if it is emotional support, validation, time, company, or even money, they are always in a crisis. They need you to help them, but if you look closely, you will realize that they are never there when you need them. If you call them to talk about your problems, they are suddenly busy. If you ask them for a favor, they find an excuse. Their world revolves around their own needs, and you only exist to fulfill them, to fill you with problems that are not yours. Imagine that you have one day normal, calm, with your mind focused on your things, when suddenly someone appears to tell you a story full of drama and negative emotions. He tells you that his boss hates him, that his partner treats him badly, that his friends are fake, that his life is a disaster, and that he no longer knows what to do. And at first, as a good human being, you listen to him, you give him advice, you try to help, but then you realize that this happens all the time. Every time you talk to that person, you end up with the weight of their problems on your shoulders, and the worst thing is that no matter how many solutions you give them, they never take them. They always find a way to continue suffering, to continue in the same situation, and to keep dragging on with him or her. 3. Make you feel guilty if you don't pay attention to them. This is where things get better. It's not that we have little time, but that we waste a lot, and that's exactly what happens with an emotional parasite. It steals your time, your peace, and your energy, and you don't realize it until it's too late. If you keep giving them your help, they will continue to depend on you for everything. They will continue to look for you when they need to vent, when they want someone to listen to them, when they need to feel important, but they will never be there when you need them. If you want your peace back, you need to learn how to cut off the supply. You need to set limits. You need to understand that you're not responsible for the emotional burden of others. Denying them your help doesn't mean being cruel. It means protecting your energy. So if you have someone in your life who behaves this way, it's time to say enough. 3. The chronic nonconformist. There are people to whom it doesn't matter what you give, it's never enough. If you help them once, they'll want you to do it again. If you shake hands with them, they take your arm. If you do them a favor next time, they expect you to do it without even asking. They always want more, they always need more, and worst of all, they're never satisfied. These people are a bottomless pit, a black hole of dissatisfaction that consumes everything in their path, including your time, your energy, and your patience. And if you don't learn to tell them that, you are not going to end up exhausted, frustrated, and with nothing to offer. How to identify them. Chronic nonconformist is not always easy to detect at first, because they usually disguise their dissatisfaction with demands disguised as normal requests. But over time you realize that they are never happy with what they do. They receive and always find something to complain about. Here are some warning signs. 1. They never thank, they always demand. You do someone a favor and the normal thing is that they thank you. True. But with these people, the thanks never come if you help them with something. They don't see it as an act of generosity, but as an obligation. They think they deserve what you give them, and that's why they don't feel the need of gratitude. And the worst thing is that if you ever decide not to help them, they feel offended, as if you were failing them. Classic example: how that this time you can't help me, but if last time you did it without problems, why now you tell me no? I don't understand what it really costs you. I expected more from you. That's their real game. They don't ask for help. They wait for help, and when someone expects something from you, like if it were a right, no matter how many times you help them, it will never be enough. 2. Always find flaws in what you do for them. If you give them something, they tell you that it is not what they wanted. If you help them, they find a way to say that you did not do it well. If you support them in some way, they feel that you could have done more. Imagine that a friend asks you to take them to the airport. You do it without a problem. World classic examples. I knew that deep down I couldn't count on you. No wonder people walk away from you. You're too selfish. After everything I've done for you, so you pay me. And the worst thing is that if you're not emotionally prepared to deal with this, you can fall into the trap and keep giving and giving him what he wants just to avoid feeling guilty. Why you should deny him your help? Because he never goes to be enough. The Stoics understood that desire is one of the greatest enemies of inner peace. Seneca said it clearly. He is poor, not the one who has little, but the one who desires more. The chronic nonconformist is not poor because of lack of resources, but because he is never satisfied with what he has, and if you become his source of satisfaction, you will be left empty in the process. Denying him your help to this kind of person is not an act of evil, it's an act of action, because every minute you spend trying to please someone who will never be satisfied is a minute you could have used to grow, to improve, to help someone who really needs it. So say no without fear. Don't feel guilty for refusing to feed someone else's eternal dissatisfaction. You're not here to fill in the gaps emotional emotions of others. You are here to live your life with purpose and clarity. For the manipulator disguised as a friend, this type of person is dangerous, very dangerous. Not because he yells at you, not because he attacks you directly, not because he hurts you in an obvious way, but because he knows how to get into your life and control you without you noticing. The manipulator disguised as a friend is not someone who comes to ask you for help in a way honest and transparent. Number, he or she plays with your emotions, uses your weaknesses against you, and makes you do things for them without you even noticing. And worst of all, they are usually charming, charismatic, intelligent people who seem genuinely concerned about you, but everything is a game, an act, a mask. They really only see you as a means to get what they want. If you don't learn to detecting them in time, will envelop you in their web of lies and manipulations to the point where you end up helping them without knowing why you did it in the first place. How to identify them? Manipulators have several strategies, but there are certain patterns that they always repeat. Here are some warning signs. 1. Uses guilt as a main weapon. If a manipulator wants you to do something for him, he is not going to ask you directly. In their place is going to make you feel guilty if you don't. Classic example. I knew I couldn't count on you. I thought we were friends, but I see that you only look for me when it suits you. Rightly, people always leave you. You're too indifferent. They're not asking you for help. They're forcing you to give it to them, making you feel bad. And the worst thing is that if you're not careful, you fall into the trap because nobody wants to feel like you, a bad person, but that's exactly what they want you to give in for fear of appearing selfish, to flatter you and then demand of you. The manipulator knows that people respond well to praise, so use this technique to soften. Before asking you for anything first, they'll tell you something like, you are the only person I really trust, you're the nicest person I know, no one else would do this for me. Always I've known you're someone you can count on. And what do you think happens next? Just when you feel special, important, valuable, comes the true intention. That's why I know you're not going to say no if I ask you for this favor. Only you can really help me with this. I really need you to do this for me. I know you will, because you're a great person. You see the trick? First they inflate your ego. They make you feel indispensable, and when you already fall into the game, they demand something that otherwise you would not accept. 3. Always have a story that justifies their actions. If you ever confront a manipulator, he will never accept that he is in error. Instead, he will invent a story that justifies why he acted as he did. If he takes advantage of you, he will tell you that he had no choice. If he lied to you, he will say that it was for your sake. If he used you, he will say that it was because he had no one else to trust. They always find a way to turn the situation around, so that it seems that you are the bad guy if you don't help them, and if you are not strong enough to detect this in time, they will make you doubt yourself. Why should you deny your help? Because every time you help a manipulative, you become more vulnerable to their control. The Stoics knew that true power comes from emotional independence. If you allow someone else to dictate your actions through guilt, praise, or manipulation, you are giving up your own freedom. As Marcus Aurelius observed, you have given someone influence over you if they can set off your wrath. The same occurs with guilt should someone make you feel bad. To force you to do something is because you have given that power over you. Denying your help to a manipulator is the only way to free yourself from his influence. You don't have to explain anything. You don't have to justify yourself. Just say no and move on with your life. If someone pressures you to do something you don't want to do, if they use guilt to manipulate you, if they first praise you and then demand you, it's time to cut off the relationship, because the help you give someone must be genuine, not forced. And if someone has to manipulate you to get it, it's because they don't deserve it. 5. The destroyer of dreams. This type of person is lethal. Not because they ask you for favors, not because they drain your energy like an emotional parasite, or because they manipulate you shamelessly, but because they attack something much more valuable than all that. Your motivation, your ambition, and you're the dream destroyer is that person who every time you have an idea, a project, or a plan to improve your life is responsible for demotivating, making you doubt, pointing out everything that can go wrong. He is the one who, instead of giving you support, fills you with insecurities, the one who puts stones in your path with his words, the one who kills any hope of success before you even try, and he does it with an impressive coldness. Sometimes he does it in an obvious way with hurtful and direct phrases, but other times he does it in a subtle way disguising his negativity as concern or realism, and if you are not mentally strong enough, you can end up believing him and giving up on your own dreams. How to identify them? The dream destroyer gives himself away with his attitude towards life and towards people who seek to grow. Here are some clear signs that you're dealing with one. Always have a but for everything. No matter what you tell them, sipper they find are to demotivate. I'm going to start my own business, but what if it doesn't work? I want to learn a new language. For what if maybe no one speaks it here? I'm thinking of moving to another city to have better opportunities, but what if it doesn't go well for you? Better stay where you are. They can never just, they always have an objection, a doubt, an excuse to sow fear in your mind. And the worst thing is that they do it with an incredible confidence, as if they really know that what you say is not going to work. To make fun of your aspirations. This is a more aggressive method, but very common. If you tell them about something that excites you, they make you feel silly for even considering it. You really think that you can achieve that? Don't get your hopes up. You're too old, young, inexperienced for that. If it were that easy, I would do it instead of supporting you or motivating you. They laugh at you, they make you feel small, they ridicule you, and if you don't have a strong mentality, you can start to doubt yourself. 3. Project their own fears and failures on you. Many times the dream destroyer is nothing more than someone frustrated with their own life, like they themselves never dared to do something great as they gave up on their own goals. No, they can't stand to see someone else trying, so they project their fear on others. Try make everyone think like them, everyone resign like them. Let no one try. Nothing better than what they did. It's not that they don't believe in you, it's that they don't believe in themselves. And as Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy. Live it. The destroyers of dreams don't live with purpose. They only know how to criticize those who do. Why should you deny them your help? Because if you keep listening to them, they're going to rob you. The Stoics taught us that life is in our hands, that destiny is not written, that everyone is responsible for their own decisions. But if you allow someone else to plant you, you doubt, someone else to make you feel small, that someone else tells you what you can and cannot achieve, you become a prisoner of their words. To deny your help to a destroyer of dreams means not giving them power over your mind. If someone constantly demotivates you, don't waste time trying to convince them. Alone, stay away. Don't explain anything to them. Don't just argue with them. Just keep moving forward, because at the end of the day, the only opinions that matter are those of the people who believe in you and what you are capable of achieving. 6. The traitor disguised as an ally. This type of person is undoubtedly one of the most dangerous, because while the above may be obvious in their toxicity, the traitor disguised as an ally is a master of deception. He doesn't come with visible bad intentions. He doesn't attack you directly. He doesn't make you feel uncomfortable immediately. On the contrary, he presents himself as someone trustworthy, someone you can lean on, someone who seems to be on your side until you least expect it and stabs you in the back. The problem with this class of people is that they are usually much closer than we would like to admit. It can be a friend, a co-worker, a family member, or even someone you considered almost a brother, and since you opened the doors of your life to them, they have access to your weaknesses, your trust, your secrets, and one day, when it suits them, They use everything against you. If you don't learn to identify them in time, they can make you damage in the most devastating way from the inside. How to identify them? Traitors disguised as allies are experts in the art of camouflage. They do not openly show themselves as enemies, but little by little they leave clues to their true nature. Here are some signs that will help you spot them. 1. Speaks badly of others with you. You may at first think that this is not a big deal. Someone gossiping about others in front of you, it may seem like just a loose-tongued person, but stop to think, if they talk badly about others with you, they will also talk badly about you with others. The traitor disguised as an ally always has something negative to say about someone, and he does it with an attitude of trust, as if he is sharing privileged information with you. But the truth is that the only thing he does is gain your trust while secretly planning how to use it against you. 2. Are kind to your face, but indifferent behind your back. These types of people usually act in two very different ways. When they are with you, they seem unconditional. They support you, they listen to you, they give you the impression that they will always be there for you. But when you are not present, their loyalty disappears. They do not defend you, they do not support you. They do not show the same enthusiasm they had when they were with you. Sometimes you can give yourself. Realize this if you observe how they react when others criticize you. They stay silent, change their attitude if they are with other people. If you notice that they do not have the same energy when they are not with you, it is a great warning sign. 3. Use you for their benefit and then discard you. This is the most treacherous behavior of all. A traitor disguised as an ally looks for you when he needs something from you, but when you need it, he pretends to be unaware if he needs a favor. There he is with a smile on his face. If he needs support, he looks for you as if you were his best friend. But when it is your turn to ask for something, he is suddenly busy, and the worst thing is that when you no longer serve him, he walks away without remorse as if he had never meant anything. This type of people do not value relationships, they only value what they can get from them. Why should you deny him your help? Because to help a traitor disguised as an ally is to feed a silent enemy. The Stoics taught us that we should surround ourselves with people who strengthen our soul, not those who weaken it. As Seneca said, prosperity shows friends, adversity tests them. Anyone can be kind to you when things are going well, but a person's true character is revealed when things get complicated. Withholding your help to this type of person is a matter of self-respect. You can't allow someone who plays two-sided to continue to have access to your trust, to your support, to your time. If someone has shown that they are not loyal, if someone has used your friendship as a means to their own benefit, it's time to close the door without remorse. And best of all, once you whatever you do, you're going to feel freer, lighter, stronger. Because true peace of mind comes when you surround yourself with people who really deserve to be in your life. 7. The silently envious. This type of person is one of the most toxic and harmful you can have around. Not because he constantly asks you for help, not because he's openly hostile, but because deep down in his heart he hates you for what you have, for what you achieve, and for what you are. The envious one is silently a professional actor. He disguises himself as a friend, a colleague, a loyal companion. He will never say directly that he cannot stand your success, but if you pay attention, you will see the signs. He cannot stand to see you win, and although he will never say it openly, he will do everything possible to sabotage you in subtle ways. Unlike the dream destroyer that demotivates you in an obvious way, the envious in silence, he doesn't want you to notice his resentment. He wants to be close to you. He wants to watch you. He wants to see your movements, because deep down he is waiting for you to fail. If you don't learn to identify him, he can become a poisonous presence in your life, someone who, without you realizing it, sabotages your path from the shadows. How to identify them? The envious person in silence rarely acts in an obvious way, but if you pay attention, there are patterns that repeat themselves. Here are some clear signs that you're dealing with. 1. One never genuinely celebrates your accomplishments. When something good happens to you, a true friend celebrates it with you. He gets excited about you. He supports you. He drives you. But the envious person silently can't do that. If you tell him that you got a new job, he responds with an "ah, that's good," but with a muted tone, as if it were no big deal. If you achieve a goal important, quickly change the subject so as not to talk about it. If you're happy about something, try to minimize it with comments like, "Well, but it's not a big deal." No, can't stand to see you shine, and although he tries to hide it, his lack of enthusiasm gives it away. 2. He finds subtle ways to devalue them. Envious in silence, he won't attack you directly, but he will find ways to make you feel that you are not so special. Example, I know someone who did the same thing as you, but you were better lucky, because most don't get that so easy. Well, but surely there are people who have achieved it in less time. It's a mental game. He wants you to doubt yourself, to feel that your success is not so great, that you don't believe too much. 3. Supports you in your failure, but not in your success. This is one of the clearest signs when you're going through a bad time. The envious person is silently there. He listens to you, he comforts you, he even tells you that everything is going to be fine. But when you start to improve, when things start to go well for you, he walks away, because he doesn't want to see you fall. But he doesn't want to see you succeed either. If someone is only present when things go wrong, but disappears when you start to shine, there you have a clear sign of envy disguised. I feel satisfaction when you fail. This is the darkest point of the envious in silence. When something doesn't go well for you, when you go through a bad patch, when you stumble in life, there is a special sparkle in his eyes. He is not going to tell you straight. Deep down he feels relief, because for a while you are not better than him, and you have to go right away if you see this in someone. The reason is the jealous individual quietly does not want you to succeed. Hence you should refuse to aid him. The Stoics understood that we cannot squander our efforts on individuals who do not wish for our well. Marcus Aurelius expressed it really succinctly. The nature of your thinking determines how happy you are in life. You will suffer if you let someone with jealous ideas around you. Listen to complain about them, and if you are careless, you are going to spend hours and hours of your life listening to the same meaningless laments. How to identify them? Walking drama have certain patterns that are very easy to detect. Here are some warning signs. 1. They are always in crisis. If you ask them how they are, get ready. You don't know what would happen to me today. The universe is against me. Bad things always happen to me, and every time you see them, there's a new tragic story too. Tell today is that their partner treats them badly tomorrow. It's that their boss hates them the day after tomorrow. It's that their best friend betrayed them, and next week it will be that the neighbor looked ugly at their house. They never have a moment of peace. There's always a drama in the air. 2. Are not looking for a solution, just attention. This is what differentiates them from someone who really needs help. If you give them practical advice, if you tell them what they can do to get out of their problems, their answer will be something like, yes, but my case is different. You don't understand how difficult it is for me. It's not as easy as you think. They don't want to improve. They want you to listen to them, and that they be right about how miserable their lives are, and if you keep there for them, they're going to get used to using your time and energy as their free therapy. 3. If you don't pay attention to them, they get offended. This is where things get toxic. A walking drama believes that their suffering is the center of the universe. If one day you decide you don't want to listen to their drama, they accuse you of being a bad friend, of being insensitive, of not caring about them. Classic example, I knew I couldn't count on you. I didn't expect you to leave me alone at a time like that. I thought that at least you would understand me. You see what they do. They try to make you feel guilty so that you give them the attention they want, and if you fall into the trap, you will never get out of there. Why should you deny them your help? Because you can't solve the life of someone who he doesn't want to fix it. The Stoics taught us that each person is responsible for his own existence. Epictetus said it clearly. What disturbs us is not what happens to us, but how we interpret it. A walking drama. He doesn't understand this. He prefers to drown in his own misery instead of changing his attitude. And if you allow someone like that to drag you into his world of complaints and suffering, your own peace of mind will be destroyed. Deny him your help is not to be cruel. It's to refuse to participate in his infinite theater. If someone always complains about the same thing without looking for solutions, if he only wants your attention but not your advice, if you make yourself feel guilty when you don't listen to him, it's time to walk away. Because life is complicated enough to carry the unnecessary dramas of 9 others. The exploiter disguised as needy. Here we mess with a guy of a person who, if you don't identify them in time, can consume your time, your energy, and your resources without you realizing it. This individual doesn't seem dangerous at first. In fact, he presents himself as someone who simply needs a little favor, a little help, a little push. But here's the catch. It's never just once. The exploiter disguised as needy. He doesn't want just a favor. He wants unlimited access to your disposal of help, wants to know that he can count on you whenever he needs it, how much it costs you, and the worst thing is that the more you help him, the more he expects from you. The most dangerous thing about this type of person is that if you don't set limits, you can become his personal assistant without realizing it, and when you finally decide to say that he doesn't get angry, he gets offended and makes you feel guilty. If this sounds familiar to you, it's time to put the brakes on before it's too late. How to identify the exploiter. Disguised as needy has very specific tactics to get what he wants without you noticing. Here are some signs to detect it in time. 1. You always need just one more favor. The first favor always seems harmless. Brother, you can help me with this. Is just this time. Friend, you can lend me this. I will return it soon. A hand with this. I promise. No, I bother you more. And you as a good-hearted person agree without problem, but it is never just once. Little by little the favors are accumulating. One day it is a small loan of money. Another day it is that you take it in your car because it is without transportation. Another day it is that you do a job as a favor because it is short of money, and without realizing it you have become its solution for it. They always have an excuse to avoid giving back what they receive, and if you insist they victimize themselves or get angry. 3. If you tell them no, they are offended. This is where you really see their true face. As long as you keep telling them yes, everything will be fine. But the day you deny them something, get ready. Now that you don't need me anymore, you leave me aside. I see how things are. You only give when it suits you. I knew that deep down you weren't such a good person. You notice the boss, they are not grateful for everything you did before. They are just upset because they can no longer take advantage. Why you should deny them your help? Because helping someone who only wants to exploit you is not helping, is allowing them to abuse you. The Stoics taught that we must take care of our energy and avoid wasting it on people who do not value it. As Epictetus said, wealth does not, it consists of having many possessions, but of having few needs. The exploiter disguised as needy never has enough, always wants more, and if you don't set limits, he will continue to drink until you are empty. Denying him your help, it is not being selfish, it is protecting yourself. You do not have the obligation to solve the life of someone who only seeks to take advantage of others. If someone never returns favors, if he always needs something from you, if he gets angry when you tell him that it is not time to cut off the relationship, because the time you waste on someone who only uses you could be invested in someone who really deserves it. 10. The saboteur of happiness. This type of person is the most toxic of all. Not because he manipulates you to do favors, nor because he constantly asks you for help, nor because he exploits you as an infinite resource, but because his presence in your life is a slow poison that steals your peace, joy, and motivation without you realizing it. The saboteur of happiness can't stand to see you well. Every time you smile, every time you do well, every time you enjoy life, he finds a way to ruin it. It can be with sarcastic comments, with criticisms disguised as concern, or even with simple gestures that make it clear that your happiness bothers him, and if you don't detect it in time, it can make you feel guilty for being happy. This type of person doesn't need to ask you for anything because what they really want is something you can't give them. That goes badly for you. How to identify them? The saboteur of happiness has a very particular way of acting. Here are some warning signs. 1 is never genuinely happy about your achievements. When something good happens to you, their reactions are always cold, muffled, or with a touch of envy. Oh, how good, but it's not that big of a deal. I congratulate you, although I'm sure you were lucky. Well, enjoy it while it lasts. You will never receive a how incredible, I'm happy for you, genuine, never, because your success makes them uncomfortable too. Always they find a way to make you bitter. Happy moments. You have a great day, you achieved something important, you are in a state of full happiness, and there just at that moment the saboteur appears with some comment negative. I'm glad for you, but you realize that you could have done better. I wish I had your luck because I do work hard and nothing goes right for me. I'm sure that now you think you're better than others. No matter what you do, they're always going to find a way to lower your spirits. 3 behave well when you're bad, but bad when you're good. This is the clearest sign that you have a saboteur of happiness close. When you are going through a bad time, they seem like the best friends in the world, support you, they listen to you, they even give you advice. But when you start to improve, when you overcome the crisis, and you are well again, their attitude changes. They become cold, distant, even hostile. Why? Because they prefer you in misery. They can't stand to see you well, because that makes them feel worse about themselves. Why you should deny them your help? Because a saboteur of happiness does not want to improve their life. They just want yours to be worse. The Stoics end that the environment in which we live influences our mind and emotions. Marcus Aurelius made it clear. Choose carefully the people you let into your life, because they will influence who you become. If you allow someone who sabotages your happiness to stay around, little by little you will become more insecure, more dull, and less free. Denying your help is not only the right thing to do, it is necessary. Do not explain your happiness. Live it. Do not feel like shining, and above all, stay away from those who cannot stand to see you happy, because life is too short to surround you with people who do not want to see you smile.